Hey guys, welcome to Your Michigan Compass. Today's video has a slight warning to it. If you're squeamish or you're not comfortable viewing things such as shrunken heads and abnormalities in animal births and things like that, this video might not be for you. If you have younger children that might be disturbed by that, I recommend maybe skipping this video. But if you're in for it, today's video is at Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. So come join us. All right, we are in the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum here in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And we're going to head inside, take a look around. Starting with the map above, with license plates spelling out the Star-Spangled Banner. Just below that, an automaton of the human body. This car is completely covered with Swarovski crystals. Over here, we have a scene depicting a woman who killed a bear with a frying pan. I love that they both had time to put on masks as well. All right, here we go on the third floor where we begin our adventure in the Ripley's Museum. This section seems to focus mainly on Asian cultures of the past, as well as some African tribes. This gentleman had a horn growing out of the back of his head, and it was documented by Robert Ripley. Here we have the $1 Million God of Good Fortune, and it's a Buddha. But before we look at the Buddha, let's look closely, because this Buddha is made of real money. Right along this wall, we have some tribal masks. These are original tribal pieces that were collected by the Ripley's Museum. You'll find several unique pieces of artwork in every museum, like this particular sculpture. On one side, we have the devil. And over on the other side, we have a woman. And that leads to the name of this piece, Devil or Damsel. In case you were unaware, the Ripley's Believe It or Not museums were originally created by Robert Ripley, who was born in California in 1890. With a strange fascination for bizarre antiquities, Robert Ripley traveled to over 200 countries collecting these items. The next few pieces in this video are definitely not for the squeamish, starting with a shrunken torso.
For hundreds of years, the Shuar have lived deep in the Amazon jungle. When they were discovered, they were wearing what appears to be miniature heads. They called them sansas. The rest of the world called them shrunken heads. I had traveled to over 200 countries, but in South America I was introduced to something both deeply disturbing and fascinating. A friend told me of a German scientist who ventured into the land of the Shuar in hopes of learning their secrets. 6 months later, a shrunken head with a red beard and light hair was offered for sale. The shrinking of human heads is an ancient rite with the Shuar tribe and one which is not vanished.
The head shrinking process began by separating the hair and skin from the skull. The head is then placed into boiling oil and water where it will begin to shrink. Magic rites are chanted as the head boils. Wooden pegs are used to keep the lips closed and the eyes are sewn shut. This was done to keep the enemy soul trapped inside the head. Hot stones and sand help shrink the head even further. The mouth pegs are removed and replaced with long strings. Exotic bird feathers are added as earrings and headdresses. The finished shrunken head is placed near a fire to harden. The shrinking of heads was a humiliating thing to do to an enemy. It robbed them of the normal rebirth of the natural life. Each shrunken head is a source of pride for the owner.
If you're hungry, they even have a vending machine with some interesting snacks. Throughout the museum, you'll find a collection of figures representing some rather bizarre people, some of which you may have even seen before. There's a vampire killing kit complete with holy water, gun, and cross in that glass display cabinet. This figure of the long neck woman depicts a common neck stretching technique used also by many African tribes. Many of the figures on display here were commonly seen at circuses in the past. You may recognize this vampire woman as she's been on many talk shows over the past several years. This section houses something very special. Willard Wiggin was a young man with dyslexia. As a child, he was ridiculed for his disability, but Willard ended up creating something that no one had ever done before. He was the first to create microscopic sculptures. And while many of his sculptures are here on display, they're just too small to show up with my camera. So here's a few images of his work, starting with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, The Last Supper, and finally Ant-Man, all of which are in the head of a needle. At first glance, you might think this is some sort of submarine used in a science fiction movie, but closer inspection reveals that it's actually a robotic shark. Everything on display at the Ripleys Museum has a little placard telling you what you're looking at and what it's all about. There are several Ripleys Believe It or Not museums located around the world. Each one is a little bit different, but you'll still see similar items in each one. Over here we have a mummy dating back to 2000 BC. Here's a perfect photo opportunity. You can have your picture taken inside this jail cell. This replica of Hogwarts Castle is made entirely of toothpicks. While much of the museum is filled with bizarre artifacts, there's still plenty of scientific and educational exhibits to see as well. This gentleman was born with a skull twice as thick as the average person. Because of that, he can pound nails using his head. Just like the vampire woman seen earlier in this video, you may have seen this person before as well. They've appeared together on several talk shows. Somehow, this man was able to survive in an oven while food was being cooked. This is one ability that I found to be truly amazing. Over in this area, we have some unique art pieces, starting with this lamb made with mops. And next, we have a dress made with candy wrappers. Finally, how about this gorgeous wedding gown made from toilet paper? This next area features some animals with some bizarre abnormalities. Here we have a horse with no front legs, and below, a two-headed calf. Here we have a six-legged deer and a Siamese calf. In this next area, we'll see how a strobe light can affect falling water and make it look like it's falling upwards or not moving. As you get closer to the exit of the museum, there's a room that has several optical illusions, as well as some hands-on things. First, let's start by staring at the screen. It says 1 minute, but you'll only need 10 to 15 seconds. Now quickly look at the back of your hand. Watch this next image. It should appear as though the circles are actually turning after a few seconds. Do you see it? And finally, we have a large-scale version of Operation, as well as a few more optical illusions on the wall. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, and also click on that compass to stay subscribed to future episodes. Remember, adventure's just a short drive away.